Everyone, I'd like to call to order the Hingham School Committee meeting of October 15th, 2018. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot of folks here tonight and a pretty good-sized agenda. The first order of business is approval of minutes. 2.1 minutes of the school committee meeting held September 10th, 2018. Do I have a...
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held on September 10th, 2018.
second? Thank you, Carlos. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great, thank you. Item 2.3, the minutes of the school committee planning meeting held on September 15th, 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee planning meeting held on September 15th, 2018.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carrie. Discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment on section 5 of the minutes in the second paragraph. In the second sentence, Dr. Gallo then asked the committee the type of budget they would like presented to them. I had remembered that the consensus we had was for a level services budget with the needs-based items identified, as opposed to just a needs-based budget. So I wanted to propose that change.
That was my recollection as well. It was more of a level services, meaning that in order to continue meeting the needs at the level we're doing, we need to include new items. Okay. Anybody have any issues, questions?
I just have another one, but I haven't logged in yet, and I had read at home. During the planning meeting, I had requested that we as a school committee collectively ensure that our primary item in terms of projects be foster school versus anything else. So I'd like for that to be reflected into the minutes. I didn't see it, and I cannot open it now.
No, I think you're right. I don't recall seeing that either, but I do recall you.
Do you
wanting to-
remember what section that was?
Here, Carlos.
I'm sure I have it in the
It's right before I left, because I was about to leave a little earlier.
Okay.
So I made sure that I brought that up. So I left about 11:03 a.m. So it was right before that. So I would say, and I realized that there was a lot of discussion on the meeting that I was not here on September 10th concerning that as well.
Was it when we were talking about, like right before we were talking about the communications issues with the superintendent search?
That's a very good question. I don't recollect.
Should we table these minutes till the next time?
Let's do that.
And look at our notes?
Because we have to look at it. I watched the tape of the September 10th, and there was discussion there because Carrie was, I think, bringing that up, exactly something to that extent. And since there was no major recollection, I think we need to go back. Unfortunately, we don't have a tape
Yeah.
of that meeting, so, yeah, please, if you could table that, that would be great. Thank you.
I think it was in section 5. It was further discussion ensued relative to possible capital warrant items for consideration. I think that was the part of the discussion.
Right. I think you're right. Okay, all right. So
Jamie can go
say
back
that.
to his original notes, and we can also check with
Thank you.
Kay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, I remember that you
Yeah, I
brought
just
that
wanted to
up
be
too.
reflected, just because there's so many conversations about different projects in town, and we want to make sure that folks don't forget that, Foster, the constituents at the Foster area has been asking for that to be a priority. And we all recognize that in this
Yeah.
body, but I just want to make sure it's documented.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank
Okay.
you. All right. Do we need a motion to,
So I'll withdraw my motion.
okay. Give me a second for that. No, all right, so that motion is withdrawn. All right. So we'll table those and bring them back to the full school committee at our next meeting. All right, great, thank you. Item number 3, questions and comments. We've set aside time on the agenda for any members of the audience who have comments or questions about anything not on the agenda. Does anyone here have anything? All right. Great, thank you. We're going to make one small change with our agenda. We're just going under, we're in communications and superintendent's report, but we're going to have our student communications first tonight from Emma Quilty, our student representative. Thanks, Emma.
Hello. This year has been off to a good start so far, with many ways of students helping our community and other towns around us. On September 29th, I would say more than half our student body and teachers attended a walk for not only Nefkir, but Andrew Warhoftik, a well-rounded singer, student, and friend to our school and community that lost his life to kidney battle last school year. Taking place in our school right now is a coin war between grades as another fundraiser for Nefkir. There are large bins in the cafeteria where everyone can dump coins to try to fill their grades bucket first. During the last week of September, the League of Women's Voters came into all the lunches to help kids pre-register and register to vote. This helps show that young and newer voices are our future and matter every day. Also, our school participated in a drive for those who lost everything in the gas explosions in northern Mass. As well as drives and fundraisers, kids from our student council will be helping out at the middle school, South School, and Foster School fall fairs and Halloween parties. In addition, sports teams are doing well this year. The football team won to Plymouth North. The volleyball team made school history after beating Duxbury for the first time. The girls' soccer team won to Natick after losing to them at the beginning of the season. And field hockey won to Norwell. Upcoming in a month or so, on November 15th through 17th, is a school play, You're in Town. With homecoming this Saturday, our school is hosting our annual School Spirit Week that will be topped off with a pep rally on Friday. On Friday the 19th at 6:30, volleyball will play Plymouth North. On Saturday morning at 9, field hockey will play Milton. At 11, boys soccer will play Quincy. At 1, girls soccer will play Quincy. At 3, football will play Quincy. Lastly, a message from our SAD Club, or Students Against Destructive Decision. As it is Rock the Belt Week, they want to remind everyone to always wear your seatbelt because it can save lives.
Thanks,
you.
Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, now we'll move on to item 4, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Gallo?
Well, Emma has given us a lot of good news, so I would like to make an announcement that's a little bit sadder news first, and that is to let you all know, if you don't already, of the passing of Chrisanne Gregoire, who was a long-term, probably the longest-term serving member of the school committee ever. It was more than 25 years. And so Chrisanne passed away last week, and I was just notified by her daughter this evening that there are services that will be on November 3rd, that's a Saturday, at 10 a.m. at Old Ship Church. So I have sent that notice out to some folks, and if you were one of the people who got the notice, if you can share it more widely, that would be appreciated. But we certainly are in Chrisanne a debt of gratitude for all that she's done. After she left the school committee, she was on the senior center board for a time. She was very active in the League of Women Voters, and she left playing bridge. So if we could just all think of Chrisanne and her family for a moment. Okay, the other thing that really is good news is that many of you have heard a lot about the Toolbox lately. Sometimes we say toolkit, and sometimes we say toolbox, and the tools in the toolbox are there in front of you. And Jamie's going to say a few words about that. I think Mary Eastwood in her presentation may mention it as well, and we will have a more formal introduction to Toolbox at a subsequent meeting. But Jamie, you want to just give us a few hints about what's in the Toolbox?
Yeah, absolutely. We're incredibly excited. As you know, we've been 2 years ago we formed the Hingham Tiered Systems of Support Task Force to critically examine the extent to which we were supporting our students' social and emotional needs. We engaged with a survey to better understand the needs of our population, as well as the perceptions of both our community as well as our faculty. From that work, our team of 4 teachers, one from each elementary school, served as sort of the core curriculum lead for that work, and began to research evidence-based programs that we know exist relative to the support of students' social and emotional learning. After an exhaustive search, the team unanimously determined that Toolbox would be the right program for us at the right time. What it does is it teaches 12 core tools that every student, everybody really, has inside of them that they can then use to manage as life becomes a challenge or as things present themselves that require us to call on our self-regulation skills and our own ability to problem solve. And so I won't get too much more into the details. I know that South School in their presentation will cover it. And Kathy LeBlanc, who's here with us this evening, was one of the teachers on that core team who I helped identify the program, as well as Bev Vernon over at East, Kara Kramer at Plymouth River, and Brianne Conley at Foster were the 4 teachers. Now that task force, as you know, is made up of over 20 people from both community and faculty and administration and staff. But those are the 4 teacher leads who sort of found the program for us. I just had a discussion this afternoon with our 6th grade team. They will also be moving to Toolbox in the spring to also support the transition of our 5th to 6th graders. And we're also looking to train, who's been trained so far are just our classroom teachers as well as all of our specialist educators. But what the training that's to come will include all of our paraeducators, our tutors, our custodians, our food service workers, our bus drivers, and I just got an email today from Kids in Action requesting training for their faculty and staff as well. So we hope to provide our students sort of whatever adult you come in contact with through the run of a day to all be using a uniform language and guidelines to help students develop their social and emotional learning. So we're incredibly excited. I know our faculty, those that are here, can speak. They all were trained themselves, and I'm sure can speak to. We've just been receiving an overwhelming level of feedback from our faculty, incredibly positive, that this is they feel that this is the program that will best meet our students' needs, and everyone was incredibly excited. We even talked about no one needing to feel rushed, that we wanted you to work with Responsive Classroom and develop your first 6 weeks program. And from there, we got feedback that many of our educators started the day after the training began and got right back into their classrooms and started. So we're incredibly excited, and we hope that, as Dot mentioned, you'll hear more specific details. We'll also, as another exciting aside, is we just had a planning meeting with Harbor Media, who's looking to do some original programming. And so we will be working with Harbor Media to produce a series of videos, that a 13 video series, the first one being an introduction to Toolbox, with each subsequent series taking on one of the 12 tools to then supplement our parent education and training program. So we'll be running parent trainings for those who want to learn those tools and strategies and use them in their parenting with their own kids. And for those that can't make those trainings, we'll build a digital resource library where parents can, on demand and at their leisure, go and actually learn more about the 12 tools using our students, our faculty, and our counseling staff explaining the vocabulary we use and how the different tools are used in day-to-day life. So we also have our parent ambassadors as a part of that task force, who will also be joining our efforts in the production of those videos to supplement our rollout. So more to come to our community, but we are, just to let the committee know, our teaching faculty has been trained and are off and running with the program. Subsequent trainings are underway now, planning phase to train all of our other support staff in the building. And we have that interesting partnership with Harbor Media, which will also be supplementing our rollout with the Parent Resource Library. So we're excited to look forward to talking with the community more about the power that we can give our students back by allowing them self-mastery and command over their emotions and feelings. So we're very excited of the work to come.
Yeah, great. No, it was great. I had a little brief
You did, right?
intro to it, probably a little bit what you folks will see, and it was so phenomenal. I'm already using my tape measure and my garbage can, and I'm not going to tell you what that means. You'll figure it out when you hear the presentation.
Yeah, we're very excited.
All right, and that's it for your report, Dr. Gallo. So moving on to communications.
Yes. You have in your packet a copy of a letter that we've been awaiting for a couple of months now, and that is the formal notification that our tiered focused monitoring review, which formally was in the form of a coordinated program review, will take place in February. We had gotten a call from one of the members of that team, but this was the formal letter we were waiting for. Unfortunately, the letter didn't really tell us much about what we need to know, and that is what we need to do to get ready for that visit, because of course it is a whole new process for us. Jamie did contact DESE to see if there was anything more they could tell us in terms of detail, And they said, well, it's a new process, and that's why it's taking longer to get the information out, and that we will hear, right, at
Yeah,
some
from the
point.
individual program leads, yeah.
Right, right. And then you also have in your packet the monthly report from Doug and Katie, facilities report, and I mentioned in the annotated agenda that it's always helpful to me, especially as a layperson, that they give a little description of what some of the terminology means in terms of what they're planning to do. But this is the list of things that were completed in September and are ongoing in October. For the audience, we get that report once a month, and we find it's very, very helpful. And you've already heard from Emma, so we can go on to new business.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Gallo. All right, item 6, new business. 6.1, we will receive the South Elementary School Council Improvement Plan for 2018 and 2019, and an update on progress from 2017-2018. So, Mary Eastwood, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Lori Jacobs, my wonderful partner.
And
is
Lori,
joining
thank
up
you.
here. Yeah, I have the pleasure.
No,
Okay.
I wanted to be Vanna, but
Lori likes to be Vanna. So good evening, everybody, and I would like to add my condolences to the Gregoire family. Chris Ann was very, very kind to me when I was a young, very scared teacher, and I remember many of the things she did for the Hingham Public Schools, so I just wanted to mention that. So the South School plan is always to prepare the child for the path and not the path for the child, because that would be physically impossible using the whole village. So there we are on day 1 this year. And I just want to say thank you. Oops. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the entire school committee, the Hingham Public Schools administration, and the South School staff. And I actually brought a staff picture with me because it does take a village, and it absolutely takes the entire staff. And there are a lot of members here tonight, so I just want to quickly introduce them because I'm very grateful for their presence. We have Eugene Bazinski, who's our phys ed teacher. He's also a teacher leader. We have Cece Hanlon, who's our technology expert. Kathy LeBlanc, who Jamie mentioned earlier, and she's also a 5th grade teacher. Diane Akenis, who's a 1st grade teacher. And Leanne Turnek, who's a 5th grade teacher. Is someone hiding in the back? And we also have Jane Delisandro, who's a kindergarten teacher. So we're well represented, I think, across specialists and the grades tonight. So I thank you all for coming out, and I thank you for your hard work each and every single day. And of course, Lori Jacobs, who's our wonderful assistant principal. And I also want to thank all of our students and parents. They work so hard every day. There was even a parent at school almost as late as I was tonight getting things ready for the harvest party. So it does take a village, that's for sure. And the entire community, and as I said, our PTO, and of course, our wonderful school council members who are on the next slide. There we go. So we have the faculty representatives, Dawn Marie Finocchi and Lauren Taracco. The community representative is Karen Johnson, and those numbers mean what year they are in their term on the school council. The parent representatives, Diana D. and Liz Klein, and our school committee liaison, who's Kay Prashma. So we all work very hard, and I think we work pretty well together. And discussion points, as you already said, Michelle, are to talk about our school improvement plan process, to talk about the progress that we made. I'm kind of going to do it the other way around, if that's okay, in 17-18, and then the improvement plan initiatives for 18-19. And Lori and I have cooked up some preliminary SMART goals that we're still working on for 2018, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, gulp, 2020 to 2020. Came fast, and some ongoing themes and still relevant new twists. And I do have to say that, you know, in the interest of time, I am going to go quickly and just talk about the bolded points, but it's so tempting to just tell you everything. And I know Tony probably feels the same way because there's so many fantastic things going on at our elementary schools, and the 4 principals work very closely together. So I think we have a lot of similar things going on, but yet all have our own little taste and flair. Okay, I was going to say next slide. I got this. All right. I'm so excited. All right, I finally figured out the remote at my gym this week, too, so life is good. So the school improvement plan process, the school council meets monthly from September to May, except December. We give everybody a break, holiday week. We review thoroughly the school improvement plan, a lot, actually, but it's thoroughly twice a year. Obviously, the first meeting, we take a look at it so we know what's driving the boat, and then, of course, course, in the spring, usually the last 2 meetings, we look at it and we do a status update. So obviously, we talk in meeting 1 about goals that is discussed and action steps we find, and different people volunteer for different things. At the other meetings, we take the plan out a lot just to make sure we're checking in with it when various topics are happening or needing discussion. And as I said, in the final 2 meetings, we do a self-assessment and analysis of what's been accomplished, still needs to be done, to look ahead, to write a new school improvement plan. I will tell you, when I first became a principal, I kept saying to everybody, what's a SIP? I did figure it out. So we write the new school improvement plan and give status update to the prior year plan. And obviously, meeting 1, we start the process again. So it is definitely the thing that drives our school council and a lot of things that happen at school, that's for sure. So we use a lot of things, and I really, I just listed some examples here. We talk constantly about all of these things, the strategic and professional development plans, the surveys that we send out, parent and staff, focus group suggestions, and I have to tell you, I love the parent focus groups, but I especially love the kid focus groups. I know some of you have sat in kid focus groups with me. They have fantastic suggestions, but I'm especially fond of we could get a machine, it could do our homework for us, those kinds of things. It's a lot of fun, but Lori and I really enjoy those focus groups for sure. Lori does a lot of work, and so do all of our teachers and our specialists examining MCAS and DIBELS data results, as well as other assessments. We always take into account the budget and talk about the budget. As a matter of fact, that's on our agenda for next week. And of course, we look at enrollment data, which right now is what you see up there. Okay. Is it 2 clicks, Tony? Is that it? Okay. So in 17-18, there's a lot of, there are a lot of initiatives that we continue, and I guess to steal a phrase from somebody, I guess they become operational, but you don't want to not talk about them because you're still doing them, and it's still working. So our TRI, or RTI program, if you will, continues to flourish in math and reading instruction. We've had further enhancement of our instructional support team process, and Lori's been very involved in that. Naturally, it's very important in any classroom, any school, to think about differentiated instruction and learning styles awareness. As a matter of fact, we usually spend our April meeting talking about our own learning styles and having some giggles because we're all different and we like to celebrate what's great and talk about what maybe we all need to work at, which is kind of a nice thing. So that's constantly being talked about. This training of teachers in many areas. The next slide has more. But in this past year, it included still the Journeys program, other reading programs, obviously differentiated instruction, empowering writers, social thinking, and this of course was 17-18. We're very excited about 18-19, as you probably can imagine. That'll be coming up. So there's been a very successful implementation of the second year, 17-18, of the Journeys program, and we're very, very, very excited with the fact that South School received recognition status from the state for high growth on MCAS for spring of 2018. And when you really look at the stats, it's really exciting. 934 schools, 52 got recognized. That's 0.5% that got recognized. So we're very, very, very excited about that. And it really, that's why I brought the picture tonight. Oh, it's in my hand still. That's why I brought the picture tonight, because really it's, it's all of them working together, and that's one thing we talked about at the staff meeting last week. Everybody has a hand in that. And I was even having a discussion with one of our custodians, and I said, you do too, you have a hand in it, because he saw the balloons, and thank you, Liza, for bringing those balloons. And I said, just when you say hello to a child when they're going down a hall, you make them feel good, and maybe they go in a classroom, and they're taking in more in the information, or also obviously keeping the building spiff-spoff so they can be in a really great place. So everybody on the staff has responsibility for that, and they deserve credit. So it's really a great thing. And I keep wanting Dot to switch my slides. Sorry, Dot. I have the remote right here. So I want to thank the school committee for sending us the balloons, and we have this in our hallway. And I thought it would last 2 days, and it's still there. Meaning, I knew the balloons would last, but I thought for sure the kids would play with them and they would break, but they're so proud that they've left them there. So it's pretty amazing. So thank you very much for that. And just some examples of professional development are right there. You can read them for yourselves, and you can see that. I had the staff write these down at the last staff meeting. I think I had 100 Post-it notes. So even I was impressed with some things I had forgotten that people went and were trained in. And these are just some examples. Lori's favorite being the Great Paraprofessional Behavior Workshop. She went and saw her idol. I don't know if you're familiar with Polly Bath, but she's absolutely fantastic and very funny if you ever want to look at someone who has a real good sense of humor, but yet really understands children and learning. Jamie's seen her. He's smiling. Okay. And one of the big things that I think I leave out every year, because we're concentrating on the goals in the South School Plan, and one day when I was riding my bike, I thought, I really need to say that not only have we gotten recognition on MCAS and everybody's working really, really hard and, getting nice high scores, and I know that's true across town, the teachers across town are still doing all of the hands-on things, which I know a lot of school systems have given up. So I just wanted to put some examples up there. Some of you might be familiar. Oh, I forgot to put the wedding of Q and U, Jamie, because I know you officiated that. It's a big one. It's a big one. I meant to put that up there. But the Alpha Fest and the wedding of Q and U and many other things, these are just examples at each grade level. It's amazing to me that they continue to do this on top of all of the other requirements. There's a tour around the world musical in first grade. There's a poetry festival in second grade. Third grade has a wonderful combination to their study of native cultures. Then fourth grade does the same with the ancient China culture, China trade culmination, and third grade having the powwow. And fifth grade does the Booth Day, celebrating of our Western Hemisphere neighbors. So I think by the time they leave fifth grade, they've got a lot of the world pretty well covered. And I know more happens in the middle school and high school. So this is just Alpha Fest. We have many, many parents who come in to help with that. The first grade musical, second grade poetry, just to show you some pictures of things. The Booth Day, I think we'll see some familiar faces in the next one. That's the Booth Day celebration last spring. And to me, I know it's a lot on top of everything else they do. So I'm extremely appreciative. And I know these are the things that children remember. I remember when I taught 7th grade, and my 7th graders would go on and on about this China trade thing, and I didn't know what it was. And then I went to the elementary school, and I found out what it was. So that's what makes their hearts beat and have them to want to walk into school every day. So I'm truly grateful to the staff who keep this all up, because I know it's a lot of extra work. So the second goal, first goal being academic, the second goal is social emotional, and it continues to be a goal for us because it's very important, as is the academic. I think you all know about our Buzz Award character building program, where we have buzz assemblies, and the children get awards for being respectful, being responsible, being ready to learn, and of course, being kinder than necessary. And that's spelled with 2 E's. We don't it's not a misspelling. We do that on purpose. And we have different emphasis in the Buzz Assemblies every month. Just to give you some examples, in November, we honor veterans. In June, we like to thank families who are leaving. And thanks to our new music teacher and all of our teachers who practice, we've got lots of school songs, because I think that if the school sings together, they stay together. And Lori has done a great job adding with the Be Kinder Than Necessary theme. We talked last year about the Rainbow of Kindness theme that was added with the Kindness Rocks, and she's even gone to the sidewalk, which we're going to show you in a couple of minutes. So that theme is constant discussion, and I greatly appreciate that all of the teachers fit this in morning meetings, and of course works beautifully with this year's goal, the Toolbox, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We have vertical pods that are grades 1 through 5, and they use the Kindness Library, which we talked about last year. So I don't know if you remember, but we have What Does It Mean to Be Kind, which we used as a theme book last year, and it worked out really beautifully. And we have many others. I brought some examples tonight. Stick and Stone, Be a Friend. There are just many, many, many. There are 50 books, and the teachers are using them for morning meetings and also for these vertical pods of mixed children from grades 1 through 5. So it's a nice little way, of course, to segue into recycling. And of course, the playground is super important to the kids. So this past year, we kept working on the recess bins. And of course, before that, we got new musical instruments and maps and all kinds of things like that. So we've been very lucky to get lots of help from our friends. There's our first B of 1819. Usually, if you're a brand new teacher, you get to do that. It's a career-enhancing opportunity. She seems to be loving it. And there's our assembly with our music teacher leading the children in song. Usually at the first one, we sing You Got a Friend in Me, because we introduce all of the new students and staff. And this year, she did a special song called Shalom. It's a welcome song. So we did a lot with this book last year. We told you last year we had a plan, and it was a quote of the week. It was constantly read, and it's still, I think, a mainstay in all the classrooms. I I see a lot of heads shaking because and if you have any babies on the way in your family or young children you have to buy something for, I would highly recommend this book. I've already bought some for my great nieces, and my niece is very grateful because she said they just love it. And these are just some other titles, and I have some of those with me tonight if you'd like to see them. And these are, there's all kinds of activities that happen around being kind. This was a particularly cute one. I love it. It means saying nice words and making new friends. So it's really great. And I believe that was first grade early in the year. So that's amazing. And how about if Lori talks about the Kindness Rocks?
So I remember last year telling you what my big plan was, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to pull it off, but I did. So we gave all the students and adults, all the grown-ups as well, the opportunity to paint a rock with a picture, a saying, a quote. They were all spray painted by myself and anyone that I could trick into helping me, each at their grade level. Every grade level has their own color. So once those were all complete, with the help of the high school students on senior class on the service day, they all came down, and it was the most amazing work of art that I've ever seen. They enjoyed every minute being with the kids. The kids loved having the seniors at our school, and every single child was able to paint a rock that day, or to make their quote, to draw their picture. And I think we had it done by noon. It was really unbelievable. And then they helped put it out in the front of our school, and it looked like a rainbow. You'll see a picture of it. But it really was one of my most favorite projects, and we're hoping we can repeat it. But I'll let you know next year.
We'll see. That was the best Friday the 13th we ever had, right? And Ben, we have to thank Ben Lockheim. He was amazing. He came down for the day and spent time with us, and he does a great job with that program, and he's already sent out senior class service day invites for this year. So believe me, we're definitely cooking some things up, so we're thrilled about that. And there's our seniors, right? Walking around helping the children. And a finished product. That's actually an aerial view somebody sent us. So I thought it was interesting that it was interesting enough for somebody to take an aerial view. And there's just sideways. And these are just other rock sayings. Choose kindness and laugh often. Believe, achieve, succeed. Be happy, not a misspelling, because the bee is our mascot. You rock. Be hopeful. Never change who you are. Be a friend every day. And my personal favorite, be a little bolder. Spelled B-O-U-L-D-E-R. And this was the brilliance of Lori, so I'll let her talk about this again.
Oh, well, those of you who know me know I like to color code everything. So I just thought, the rocks look so nice out front, and during our dismissal, it's really it's a sight to be seen. It's very well organized, but always can be a little bit more organized. So these are where our students from Liberty Pole get picked up every day in the cars. So I just had the idea of if we put a rainbow out there, they all could stand, and maybe they would stand and look for their cars a little bit more closely. And so now all the children line up on their colored grade level line, and I think it's working out pretty well. And since that picture's been taken, our amazing custodians have put kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth on it. So it looks nice. It's a nice little, brightens up the spot.
And they get a science lesson at the same time because they'll know the colors of the spectrum for the rest of their lives, right? So the third one we kept with to continue. Third and fourth we put together because it's continued parental and community awareness of existing and new supplemental activities. And you always want to promote communication, support, and collaboration with parents and community. And I think nowadays that's more of a challenge because there's so many ways to, we've talked about that a lot here, to communicate. And so we try to just get things out as succinctly but as complete as we can. Obviously, weekly newsletters. We work hard on a common language, and we're very grateful for Toolbox because we think that's really going to tighten that up. And it's very important to us to welcome new families. We have a Fast Facts, which is a summation of our of our handbook, and we always have a new families reception and tour and constant communication. I always say I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed, and I'd rather over-communicate than under-communicate. So I do think that that helps a little bit. And we talked earlier about the focus group and the survey data. And then safety, of course, is always an important thing. It's constantly discussed. Protocols are strictly adhered to. We have a renewed training yearly from the active shooter training from December of 2016. And Lori and I just spent some time today actually reviewing lockdown protocols, and we use the new surveillance equipment a lot. And this past spring, Officer John was wonderful to come in and have a meeting with parents and just discuss some of their ideas and include them as well, which we always have, but he did a really nice job with that. Very quickly, some plans for 18-19. Obviously, we're going to continue all now operational initiatives and keep them going. I just keep saying to everybody, keep doing what you're doing because it's working, and most importantly, the children are happy. They're happy and they're learning. The math tutor initiative we're very excited about. Thank you all for supporting that in the budget, and that will further enhance targeted math instruction, and it's well underway and going very, very well at this point. And of course, we continue to facilitate journeys, staff peer observations, professional development, and we have these wonderful STEAM carts that our PTO gave us, and we're using those for indoor recess. So all of the things, and of course, all of the hands-on learning we talked about earlier, that will all continue, all the good stuff that everybody's doing. We're very excited in Goal 2 to provide opportunity for students' physical and emotional well-being and awareness of social responsibilities. And the big thing there that we bolded is the complete playground project. It's almost there. I think the rain over the weekend kind of hindered things a little bit, but we're getting there for the ADA accessible playground surfacing, and there's been a little change of some of the equipment, and it's very exciting. The thing the kids were the most excited about is they painted the 4 squares really bright colors. So it's amazing. Children are just, they're great. They just get excited about things, and it gets all of us excited, which is wonderful. And obviously, we want to reinforce our common language, and we love all of the things we do, the social thinking, the calm classroom, the yoga, the kindness library, but we're extremely excited about Toolbox, Dovetail Learning Initiative, and you might notice I'm wearing my toolkit tonight. And thanks to Jamie, the Spanish teacher has one in Spanish, too. And we all wear them around our necks every day. And they remind us all about the tools, which are all of these, which I know were referred to recently. We have a plan as a school to do 2 a month. We're pretty much going to stay in order, but we're going to skip to the Courage tool for early November. Because we have the Veterans Day Assembly, so that will go nicely. It's always good when you marry things so that children, are thinking about it in many different ways. And I know this is happening across town. All 4 elementary schools are very excited about this, and it's just really fantastic. It's a great common language kind of thing, and everybody's getting excited about it. The art teacher's in on it. She's already fixing the tools, making them look more kid-friendly. The music teacher's looking up things. I've seen the gym teacher many times talking about the toolbox, and all of the classroom teachers and the specialists. Everybody's talking tools, and it's great because, and I'm very grateful to the task force and the 4 teachers who worked hard to find this, because rather than to put something else on the plate of teachers, they put a beautiful cover on the plate. When you go to a fancy restaurant and there's a beautiful cover on the dinner plate, well, that's what they did. And it's so usable and so user-friendly. And the adjustment counselor and the school psychologists are already working on parent training videos. Everybody's doing something. And like Jamie said, it was very exciting that everybody came in on the first day, and I walked through classrooms and children were breathing. So the breathing tool is you take your measuring tape. Oh, I think Jane gave me a measuring tape earlier. Take your measuring tape, and you pull it out. I never was very good at carpentry. You take it out, and you exhale. And I have seen many, many teachers using this when the children are in line, and they're all getting a little silly, and they've got to get somewhere, or at whatever point. So even just the breathing tool, the first one, is already done, and everyone knows it, and we're on the quiet, safe place. And what was really exciting is to see there were about 600 people doing the breathing tool at our last assembly. So everybody's on board. So we're very exciting. So plan for implementation is already well underway. The teaching staff's already trained, and there's a plan to train everybody. And obviously the parents have been informed in the newsletters already, and their trainings are starting to be planned. The lessons have begun, and we have a bulletin board. We talked about it, buzz assemblies, our songs, our murals, everything. And you can see the dates for all our tools, and we're hoping to finish by March so that April and through June can be reinforcement. There's our bulletin board. And just some other professional development that's planned for 18-19. Another extensive list. And getting to goal 3, we're going to make sure the toolbox tidbits, say that 5 times fast, are in the newsletter so that parents know all about them. And the elementary handbook has been updated thanks to the efforts by central office and Dr. Steller, who retired this summer, but she helped us out by unifying our elementary handbook. And then Lori worked hard putting some finishing touches that are just South School on that. And all of the other things will continue. In Goal 4, to promote communication support and collaboration with parents in the community. And again, the toolbox trainings are going to be a focus for parents. And obviously, we're going to stay with our focus groups and parent survey and all of those other great things that follow along with the It Takes a Village theme. And continuation, I want to mention one thing down the bottom of our wonderful Fly South program, which is our after-school enrichment program, and our Box program, and our Homework Heroes program. And the Box program is something that is a legacy, I know, for many people here. And also, it's been taken over by a new group of parents, so that has been handed down and still continues to thrive. For those of you who don't know, it's a before-school exercise program, of which I think is fantastic. Exercising early in the morning is a wonderful thing. And of course, we want to increase awareness of safety in and around the school, especially during arrival and dismissal. So obviously, we keep doing physical plant enhancements. We continued the bike rodeo this year. Thank you, Officer John. He does a great job with that, and the 3rd grade team help out, and I think Mr. B was involved with that this year as well. And we talked about the handbook, the revised handbook. And we want to further enhance lockdown procedures and communication about them. That's what Lori and I were working on today, more communication with parents, why we're doing these practices, and what we say to the children, how we make it age appropriate. All of those things are important, and many safety lessons, electrical safety, pedestrian safety, all kinds of safety. I think you have winter safety. There's all kinds of safety that Officer John comes in and takes care of. So here we are, the electrical safety. And there's the bike rodeo. It is such a great day. It's such a rite of passage for the 3rd graders. And just, we have preliminary plans for these. We have to talk about this over this next week or so. But obviously, the math tutoring is a number 1 to get that rolling and make sure the intervention is happening in the right places. And obviously, the toolbox. Those are probably our top 2 things. And another thing that we're doing, and I wish we could do it at the Eastwood House, but we're definitely doing it at South School, is to modernize and upgrade the physical plant. The 20th anniversary, can you believe it? 20th anniversary of the opening of South School is next November, the new South School. We still call it the new South School. So we're kind of, thanks to Katie Hartman and Doug Foley and all our custodial staff, all the walls are getting painted, and we're hoping to put up some new artwork. And we all know that we all love murals. Our art teacher has some murals planned to go with Toolbox. So those are some of our goals. And obviously, a sound mind and a healthy body. It's number 1. The ancient Greeks knew it in ancient Greece, so we want to continue that because it's super important. So it does take a village to prepare the child for the path, and I'm grateful for your ears tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any questions? No? Great, thank
Great
you so
job.
much.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to show you one thing. Jane brought this too. Already making toolboxes.
I love it.
I should mention that I was down at South earlier this morning and met several of the people, worked with several of the people that are here tonight. I'm dating myself, but our two kids went through South, the old South. And I really enjoyed it. It looked terrific.
Great, thank you.
And just as a point of reference, so we have the New South, which was the 20-year ago renovation, but before, and then we had the school before that, which was built in 1950. But then we had the school before that, which was a wooden school, wooden construction school, one of 3 in the town, all of which I remember from my own memory, not just reading about them. But the one for South School was about 3 houses south on Main Street from the Cracker Barrel. And it was a wooden school. It has been raised many, many years ago. There's a house that sits on the little rise. There's a hedge out front that is the same hedge that was there when the school was there, but it was one of Hingham's 3 schools that were built in the late 1800s. So there's the new school, the old school, and the really old school, 3 versions of those.
But not to be confused with the school that apparently was around in 1802.
I think that was 1889. We're really into that lately.
All right, thank you, Mary. All right, we will now receive the eSchool School Improvement Plan for 2018 and 19, and an update for 2017-2018 from Tony Keating.
Can you see, Tony?
I can, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for allowing us to present our plan tonight. We are fortunate to have a number of our staff with us tonight. Becky Case, our assistant principal, is back there. Kathy Ryan, our adjustment counselor. Cindy Barrett, one of the mainstays of the East Elementary School. She's a member of our school council. And Dr. Katie Florick, our school psychologist, is here. So everybody has a part in putting our plan together. So we'll start with sort of the last year's membership. We were very fortunate. Diane Snyder has been our long-term community representative. Diane has been a long-time Hingham resident, and she has actually been on our school council rep since we pretty much opened, so she's been great. Karen Dean and Kate Muzinski will be back this year as our parent rep. Julia Whitney has moved on. She's already finished her 2-year commitment. Cindy Barrett was on last year. She's again coming back with us this year. Tanya Manning has moved on, so our new membership this year will be Allison O'Neill, one of our 3rd grade teachers. Of course, I'll be there. Kate Prashman was lucky enough to be with us last year, and this year we welcome Carrie Nee, who will be our school community liaison for our current year. So we'll start with an update from last year's plan. I'll just quickly kind of run through. There we go. So our literacy goal, we want to improve student outcomes in the areas of English language arts. We use DIBELS for K1 and 2. We use MCAS for grades 3 and 4. So if you look at all of the action steps have been completed, we don't really consider the goal complete yet because we are using the MCAS results from spring of 2018. So we are in the process of analyzing those results right now. As a matter of fact, we're setting up meetings with our teachers in grades 3, 4, and 5 to go over their last year's scores, to kind of look for trends, areas of need. We will also continue to meet with grades 4 and 5 to go over the MCAS scores for the students they have with them currently. So we do that for math and literacy. And that is done also with our math specialist, our literacy specialist, and science specialist. We look at all of our MCAS scores. So once again, all those steps are completed. We don't consider the goal complete until we actually fully analyze all of our MCAS scores. Hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll have that all done. Last year, goal number 3 was, once again, to work on the partnership within the eSchool community and to broaden our student learning experiences. So this came out of our discussion with the students, creating a career week. We're going to move that forward to this year. We did do our parent guardian book groups, but to be honest with you, not well attended. And the feedback we got from parents is really just about timing, location, and just a lot of people on their, a lot of things in people's schedules. So what we decided to do was host parents and socials instead. So last year we piloted an idea. We held a parent social at Julia Whitney's house. She's very fortunate enough to open her entertainment space. She has a wonderful 2nd-story barn that we used. We invited. It was open to the entire school community. We had about 30 parents and caregivers come. We had a topic for them to discuss. We offered them to watch a TED Talk on raising children in the 21st century in this age of prevalent social media. And we had a chance to watch it before you arrived. You watched it when you got there. We broke everybody up into small groups, gave them some discussion questions to go over. A lot of great feedback about that. Parents had a chance to connect with other parents they hadn't met before and to kind of discuss common issues and obstacles that we all face as parents. So in partnership with the PTO, we're going to kind of continue that move this year. So for example, one of our first PTO meetings for tomorrow will not be at the school. It's actually going to be hosted by one of our parents. So we're hoping to, once again, make a different atmosphere and invite more of a conversation. We are going to invite guest speakers. We're going to move that into this year. Our partnership with Hingham Police and Fire Department is ongoing. Once again, we share the safety officer, John Walden. He's been great. He does work with the staff. He works with the kids and with parents. This year, we're going to try to expand that. We had a nice discussion with some members of the Hingham Fire Department to come by and have lunch with the kids and just kind of get a better sense of the school community as opposed to only arriving when they come to an emergency. Our piloting with the after-school enrichment program with Hingham Rec has been successful. So we piloted it last year. a lot of great feedback from the families because we're able to provide a consistent programming, partnering with known programs that the Hingham Rec offers. So we're going to continue with that this year. In fact, our after-school program is running right now. So it's been great. So we're going to continue with that. The PTO feels like we're able to offer kind of a more broader range of classes for the kids. So it's been a good partnership. For goal number 4, strengthening our East community. You know, last year we were really lucky to put CREW into place. You know, and that really was the brainchild of Becky Case. She led us on that. And CREW stands for our Community Respectful Explorers Working Together. We dropped the T because CREW sounds better than CRUT. Doesn't really work. So CREW has been great. We're going to continue that this year. But the way CREW works is we divide the students into vertical teams. Every single staff member is given a vertical team. That team is made up of anywhere from 6 to 10, maybe 12 students. That crew will stay together for their entire time at each school. So as 5th graders move on, a kindergarten will come in, but the core will stay with this together with the same staff person to just build a different sense of community within the school. So we meet on the early release days in the morning for about half an hour to an hour to work on a project around a common theme. So I'll talk about the theme later on, but once again, it gives our kids a chance to connect across grade levels in a different way, connect with staff members that they may not have a chance to interact with or limited time to interact with throughout their time there. So it's been going on. It's been a great program. So we're going to continue that this year. And I'll have some more information later on. Our intervention groups for students with identified social and emotional needs. We did that last year. That goal is completed. We're going to continue to work across the district as part of the HDSS social plan. That's been going well. Last year we did sit down with grade levels. We offered them meetings once a week, once every other week, depending on what their schedule was. Just sit down and talk about their classroom issues they're facing with regards to social emotional issues, behavioral issues that may be happening in the classroom. We had a chance to brainstorm with them, kind of hear and trial out different ideas, provide a sounding board, and it's, once again, it proved to be a pretty good resource. We're going to continue to offer that throughout this year. Our social emotional curriculum for all grade levels is ongoing. That's Toolbox, in addition to, once again, all the existing programs that we have, social thinking, responsive classroom, all of those things have been great programs, and as Mary explained, Toolbox provides a great kind of overarching piece under which we can work with all of them. And our monthly staff meetings, we've had some really great topics. So we've had Joanna Silverman, she's from the Pilgrim Ed Collaborative. She'll come, she came last year, she's coming again this year to talk to us about social thinking. We did a whole implementation plan 2 years ago. Joanna comes back to give us a refresher. We had Jeff Wheeler from the Department of Ed's Safe Schools program. He did a great presentation last year on welcoming LGBTQ students at the elementary level, which was a great topic for the staff. They thought that was really helpful. So we're going to continue to do that based on the feedback we get from the staff on what they feel their needs are. So once again, all those things are kind of happening. Any questions about last year's plan before I move on? Great. So, much like Mary, when we do our school improvement plan, we try to get as much data as possible. We'll review our data, sort of the enrollment data, kind of see where we're trending up or down at different grade levels, trying to get an idea of class sizes and how they impact learning. We will always provide, we look at a summary of our current MCAS data. So as a staff, we sit down and look at it. We'll talk about it as part of school council. We talk about the budget process, kind of what are the budget needs. This year as a district, we agreed elementary math tutors were a need, so we are lucky enough to have them all as part of our math intervention process this year for grades 3, 4, and 5. We do run focus groups, and we run our focus groups, we do try to make sure that we invite a broad range of parents. So although it's random, it's semi-random. So we make sure within that group, we invite parents who are brand new to East Elementary School. We make sure we invite parents whose children receive special education services. We invite parents whose children have a 504 plan. Any other number of kind of subgroups we feel we want to make sure we hear from, they will be invited to the focus groups. We always have a pretty strong response. We offer 2 focus groups, one during the day, one at night. And once again, it's been a great process. We'll send out our parent and caregiver survey. We try to keep the survey questions relatively the same, and we use a numerical rating score so that we can kind of track progress over the years. So each year we can look back at the previous year's survey, look at our current survey, kind of give a score and kind of figure out what are the areas that we're doing well in and what are some of the areas we need to kind of work on. And like Mary said, our student focus groups are great. The kids come in with some phenomenal ideas. Some of their ideas we're actually putting into place for our current school improvement plan. And once again, we also do student surveys. And the kids really, I think, are pretty thoughtful in their responses. So here are the details in the plan as part of your packet. So I'm just going to kind of cover the goals and a couple of the pieces of them as we go through. So our goal every single year, we always continue to work on literacy, based on the previous year's MCAS scores. So this year specifically, we are going to be looking at writing. We want to look at poetry. We want to look at grammar and punctuation conventions. All of those things were pieces that came out of our assessment of the MCAS data. Some of the issues we have with MCAS is that some of the areas that we identify as a need are based on only 2 or 3 questions within the MCAS itself. And we don't always get the questions released to us. So often we're kind of struggling to figure out what is the reason why some of our students didn't do so well in that particular question. So it kind of becomes a guessing game. But nonetheless, we use the data in addition to everything else that we have at our, it's available to us to kind of put together a support plan for literacy instruction. And we pretty much do the same thing with mathematics. We will look through the MCAS very carefully. We'll look at our district-based assessments as part of our everyday math program. We want to find those areas of need, provide small group instruction as best we can. We are lucky with the math tutors in place this year to make that happen. So we are off to a good start. And we will continue to meet with our staff throughout the year. We'll meet probably 6 or 7 times throughout the year, formally or formally, and then informally meet more frequently, just to talk about the progress of the kids, get an idea of how things are going, ways that we can kind of tweak our instruction as we move through the year. Our third goal, we always are working on to build our family and community connections. Within our school, we feel that we are really trying to forge a partnership with each one of our families. So one of the things that, in the packet, you'll see the details, but one of the things we're working on with the PTO is really to kind of think about recruiting host families, identified families at each grade level who can act as a connection for new families whenever they enroll. For example, we have a fair number of families who will enroll with us during the summer. So this way we have a host family who can connect with them, help them kind of get them settled, point them in the right direction for certain resources, signing up for youth sports, where to find certain information, all of those things we think would be helpful to have kind of one single person or a couple of families which you can connect to. The other thing that we're going to continue to expand upon is the parent-caregiver discussion groups that we're going to work on with the PTO. School council will also be doing their own programming as well to try to kind of, once again, invite parents in or connect with them to talk about some of the challenges that we all face. And we have, from the Department of Ed, Family and School Partnership Rubric, an assessment tool that we're going to continue to use. We looked at it last year. It kind of gives us tips and suggestions, ways that we can assess our school and how we reach out and connect with families. So we're going to continue to use that resource this year. And for goal number 4, once again, we're going to work our social emotional learning. Toolboxes will be put into place. We're also going to be fully implementing our Makerspace program. So last year, just oddly enough, myself, Greg Bliss, our art teacher, and Jenny Senior, our technology teacher, all kind of came upon similar professional development opportunities, but in different places. I took a class at MIT, Jenny took hers through MassQ, and then Greg went to Lesley University, all around the idea of Makerspace. Makerspace is kind of a place where students can come in, be given sort of an overarching topic or idea, and then kind of just explore it. So we piloted some lessons last year, and then this year we're actually going to fully implement it across all grade levels. We've put together a schedule where every single day 6 is Makerspace Day. We're also lucky because of change in enrollment, we had a classroom that we could use. So that's now is our Makerspace classroom. So for example, tomorrow is a Makerspace Day, and you're all invited to come if you want to come. So for our first graders, are going to be working on, they have a Lego challenge with a flow chart for projects and things they're supposed to work on. Our second graders are going to work on snap circuits. Our third graders are going to make paper circuits using coin batteries, diodes, and cardstock. Our fourth graders will be working on a boat challenge. That's to make something out of Legos that will float. Then our fifth graders are going to be doing a design boat challenge where they're going to be given a piece of foam, a dowel, 2 popsicle sticks, and 3 different kinds of sails, and be asked to design a boat that we will actually race down a gutter with a fan and actually.
It is harder than you think. I just want to say that.
Very hard.
We're grown adults, and it took us a minute.
We had our administrators participate in this challenge last week when they came for a meeting. So And we're going to continue adding projects throughout the year. So our hope is that by the end of the year, every single class would have had at least 6 to 8 makerspace opportunities, and we'll be changing the projects as we go through. We'll be doing 3D printing, we'll be doing coding, we'll be doing more bridge building, more design challenges, engineering. There's many different ways we can challenge kids to think and learn in a different way we're going to be going for. So that's our makerspace initiative. And now some pictures to follow up in a second. We're also going to be working on a student council this year. This is one of the things that Becky's taking on. So we went ahead interested in being part of student council. So they're going to meet with Becky and Dr. Flerick and some of our other staff to talk about ways we can improve our school community, give the parents, give the kids sort of an ongoing voice in how our school community works together. And so far it's been off to a great start. Becky nods, yes. All right. So here's our makerspace in action. So here's an example of our first grade students. Their first task, for example, is to build your name with Legos. What we found was really kind of interesting is one would think the kids would always want to connect all the pieces. No, they didn't. So you can see what this child did. She just spelled it out with Lego pieces, unconnected, which was fine. We just gave them we left it very open-ended. And some of the kids were very specific and wanted to find just the right Lego piece to actually snap together the letters, which was fine too. But I never thought of this way of doing it. Our 4th graders were given just once again a pile of Legos, and all they were asked to do is to build something that floats. Once again, more of a challenge than one would think. Some of the students were pretty understanding that they had to create sort of like an air pocket, so that would provide flotation for the boat. And for then, what would happen is, for those groups that were able to put together an actual Lego craft that would float, we gave them a payload and said, okay, now you have to put this in it. So what we gave them was a small container of nuts or bolts that gave some weight to it. And so often kids would come to us all proud saying, my boat floats. That's great. Will it carry this? More often than not, it didn't. So it gave them a chance to go back and re-engineer it and rethink it and ongoing. So what we're finding is we move through our first kind of makerspace process is tomorrow when we do this with 4th graders, we're not going to give them each their own tub of water. There was some problem there.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, we didn't see it either, Michelle. So what we'll do is, thankfully, because the classrooms used to all have sinks, we have 2 sinks to use. The kids will bring them over. They'll test their stuff out in the sink. And we'll see how that goes. But my initial concern with this really was, would Legos be challenging enough for 4th graders, by the time they get to this age? But I will say that pretty much every single group was engaged in the process. They all had very different ideas. We did ask them to sketch their ideas first, to come to some common understanding of what the design should look for, go ahead and test it, see how it worked out, try again. So once again, we want to work on that design idea. You try something, figure what's not working on it, try it again. And once again, the kids did a great job.
How many kids are in a group?
So this class, we are lucky we can divide every classroom into 6 groups. So depending on the size, it could be as small as 3 or as many as 4 or 5.
Because that's good learning how to work with each other and have a common goal and communications, and
exactly.
That's great.
This is my own personal favorite. So those of you who don't know, I love boats. So here's what we did. I took 2 10-foot pieces of gutter. You'll see them there on the table. We put a fan at one end. There is one of the boat designs the students tried. So they were given some criteria. The overall length of the boat had to stay the same. You could cut it into whatever shape you wanted to. Well, actually, I cut it. I have a foam cutter. They had to design it. Then they were given a dowel, 2 popsicle sticks, 3 different kinds of materials for sails. Very thin paper, heavier cardstock paper, and then aluminum foil. And they would have to figure out which one would work. Now, what I found interesting was some of the kids actually took the aluminum foil and used it to wrap the bow of the boat, the whole hull of the boat, which was something I never thought of. Jamie did the same thing.
Me and Miriam, we're getting the thumbs up.
We also found that some of the kids would take the popsicle sticks and they actually embedded them in the underside of the foam to make sort of like a rudder or like a skeg that would help guide the boat. One other student tried to put a rudder on it. So I was very impressed with the variety of creativity the kids showed. Once again, in small groups, they had to design, draw out what they wanted to look like, consider all the criteria. For example, they had to figure out that the sail had to fit within the boundaries of the gutter. The gutter is 4.5 inches wide. Some of the initial designs didn't take that into consideration. They would not go down the gutter because they kept on getting stuck. So that once again, they worked it through. Each student could, each group, I should say, could come back and run their boat as many times as they wanted. So it gave them more opportunities to go back to refine the design. Our quickest speed so far is 5 seconds to run the 10-foot gutter. Now, I don't want to shame anybody, but none of the administrators even came close.
Not our group or Suzanne's group. No, neither of us could do it.
The fan was in the same spot, the same speed, everything was the same. And you could pick whatever gutter you wanted to go. It didn't really matter. So our kids had a great time doing this. We're going to continue to kind of work on this makerspace throughout the year. Once again, it's my own personal project. I have a lot invested in it. I just think we try to provide as many opportunities for kids to use their hands, to work collaboratively. And to be honest, Dr. Gallo, you can hide your ears, we don't grade them. It really is just for them to enjoy the process of learning and designing and everything else. So we have a lot of great feedback from the kids and some great feedback from the parents when kids go home and talk about this. So we're going to continue to expand our makerspace throughout the year, and we welcome anybody to come in and join and view, and you can design your own boat. And our crew for this year. We started this year off with a talk show led by the boy with the microphone, Zach Robbins. He was the host for an Ellen-style talk show where we invited various guests, Jackie Robinson, Ruby Bridges, Neil Armstrong, some professions, police doctor, and they were interviewed in front of the students about what are the parts of their jobs or what are the things they've done which kind of qualifies them to be a hero in our society. We're very careful to separate it from superhero to what is a hero, and trying to get that message across that anybody who contributes to the greater good of our society can be a hero, whether their contributions are small or large. It doesn't really matter. So that will be the main focus of our entire year of crew. At the end of the year, each crew will put together a museum piece which kind of represents what they think an everyday hero is or does. And once again, there's great latitude as to what that museum piece can look like. Last year when we did it, each kid created a plover from Horton Hears a Who. And we were, once again, very impressed with the range of creativity that students showed, stuff you never would have thought of. So we are looking forward to, once again, seeing what our students come up with. Once again, this has been an ongoing thing for us. I mean, it's going to be a great ongoing process for us for years to come as we build our school community. So that is the end. Any questions? Or?
What is the thought? So I got that the Makerspace classes that 3 of you went. It was Leslie, MIT, and what's the third school?
MassQ is it's a conference that happens every year for educators for technology. And
It's Massachusetts Computer Using Educators is what it stands for.
Did that training happen at about the same time?
Pretty similar. It all happened in the fall. And we all came back with kind of different pieces to it. So what Greg came back with was some really great projects for elementary school students to do, and Jenny came back with some of the computer pieces that we're going to continue to work on, in addition to the ongoing implementation of the Computer Science Initiative, so ways that we can incorporate 3D printing, coding, those kind of things. And then I came back with really how to set up a makerspace. So at MIT, they have the Edgerton Center, which is devoted to kind of implementing makerspace across the district. So I had a chance to go to a great class and met people from across the state who were doing this. And I met one teacher in particular who's very passionate about a makerspace. And what she has done at her high school library is, to be honest with you, they really have gotten rid of all the books. And what they've created in there is a makerspace program for the entire school. And they now have, what they've added over the years are CNC machines, so a computer-aided machine where you can cut out certain pieces for a design. They have much better quality 3D printers. They have a whole sorts of tools and machines that kids can use to build these really impressive projects. So for example, one class had to put together a 3D model of the brain, and they had to design the every single piece using a computer-aided design program, print it on the 3D printer, then assemble it. Another student did a dinosaur. He had to basically research every single piece, put it into a computer-aided program, and then the CNC machine cut it out of plywood, and then he assembled it. And she said what their goal is for this year is to create actually a tool lending library. So instead of coming to borrow a book, you can borrow tools. so you can go home and do your own makerspace projects at your house. And they are very excited about it. So we're hoping once again that we can continue to build our makerspace program and offer some similar things. Last year we did some great things with a 3D printer. For example, each one of our 5th graders designed their own keychain and printed it off, and then they took it home. And we're going to continue to do that again this year. The 4th graders this year have a chance to do the keychain project. Our 5th graders, we're going to find a different project for them to do, but really wanted to take away from it. Now, some of the projects the kids get to keep. So, for example, our 3rd graders, with their paper circuit, they get to actually take that home with them. They get to keep it. The boats, they don't, because it's a small group project, and we're doing with the boats, we're going to kind of hold them up for examples for other students for years to come to say, all right, here's some project ideas or some design ideas you can think about. Hopefully learn from other people's designs. So once again, it's been, we're very excited.
Thank you.
And I did see in one of the emails we got from one of the schools that you're looking for materials.
Yes.
So if anyone has extra Legos, correct? Or
Yep, so we are accepting Legos, Kinects, anything builder. Here's what we're also looking for, is we're looking for any small hand tools or appliances for a take-apart project. So we want to try to work with our 3rd graders on take-apart. But we're looking for very specific kind of things. You have to have a motor and a gear. So what we want to do the kids to do is to kind of look at something that they probably have seen used frequently on TV or in their own kitchen, and imagine what goes on inside that. What's it look like in there to make that thing work? And then they're going to have to make a prediction. They're going to have to think about why they're predicting that. And then we're actually going to teach them how to take it apart. Now, it's got to be something that you want to get rid of, because we're not putting it back together.
We might want to let the transfer station know, or the swap know.
That'd be perfect.
Because if people come in there with their things, that might be a good location for us.
Exactly.
So our Green Initiative people, maybe you can pass it.
Yeah.
Or you pass them
Yeah,
on.
I can pass it on. All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you
That's
so
great.
much.
Great
That was
stuff.
great. Thank you. Thank you both very much. All right, we'll move on to item 6.3, to receive a revised draft of the proposed fiscal year 20 budget guiding principles and act as appropriate. At our last meeting, Dr. Gallo had provided us with a draft. We made a few suggestions. I believe they are all captured here in a red line version. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed fiscal 20 budget guiding principles as presented.
Second, Carrie, thank you. Any discussion? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. All right, item 6.4, to receive a recommendation from the Long Range Planning Committee regarding green communities and to act as appropriate.
Is it soup?
Yes, whoever's up.
I think this is, could be characterized as the home stretch for the Energy Action Committee. As I look in the audience, I recognize 3 here who I'd just like to introduce and then give you my spiel. I see Scott Sear, who's sitting in the audience, Brad Moyer, and my new best friend, Paul Heaney, who's here as well. Did I miss anybody?
And I'd just like to introduce Nicole Sanchez with Metropolitan Area Planning Council, who is also working on the town's behalf to put together the reduction plan.
Our other new best friend. Welcome. For the members of the school committee, I think Carlos and or John put together a running 3-page directive on some of the activities. In the background, the Energy Action Committee spoke to our group last February in the lead up to town meeting for our support. Town meeting acknowledged the benefit. In June, maybe July, I attended a meeting in the town moderator's office. With John and Aisha's help, we were able to get them some energy audit spreadsheets, Scott appeared before the school committee, for the Long Range Planning Subcommittee for a presentation on September 20th. The Long Range Planning Subcommittee digested that. Scott dropped off a handful of information, which I took it upon myself to read. There's you all have seen a page of my questions and the responses, and we as a committee will be happy to answer any of your questions. But it's our sense that we would recommend that we proceed positively. Carlos, who is chair of Long Range Planning, has just tasked me with this particular project, and he gave everybody a heads up last meeting that we would be addressing this issue tonight.
Okay, great.
Anybody have any thoughts or questions?
Just wanted to also add that we are constantly looking for ways of bringing more money to the schools. And perhaps this may be something. This may be a way of funding a project that we may have. We also asked Scott and his team to look into the study or the possibility of addressing solar power, and he will be looking into that. And we do understand that there's a lot of work in actually getting constituents to buy in. So he'll be looking into that, and because he already have a relationship with other folks in town, that is the right way to go. Given the understanding that we don't have the staff to do the studies and stuff, so we would appreciate everything you can do. With that, it is our recommendation that we move forward, and Dr. Schrei is ready to make a motion.
So let me move that the school committee support the joint town school effort to obtain the Massachusetts Green Communities designation by expending funds received in consideration of such designation on projects outlined in the energy efficient plan once such a plan and funding becomes available, and by adopting the town's vehicle efficiency guidelines.
I'll second that.
Questions?
And discussion, questions? When does this, if we vote tonight, when does this all, like, when are we gonna start seeing opportunities? When does the town start seeing?
Happy to answer that question. So Brad Moyer, Chair of the Energy
Yeah.
Action Committee. So the process from this point forward is that the approval tonight is one step. The second step would be approval from the selectmen for the same items.
Okay.
If both approve, we submit an application on October 26th. We'll find out by mid-December whether or not we're designated.
Okay.
Presuming we're designated, the next step is that in January and February timeframe, we're awarded a certain amount of money. We're estimating somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000. And then we submit a proposal for how that money is going to be spent for the first project. And then thereafter, every year, we have the opportunity to submit additional proposals for more money for whatever projects we have in amounts that those projects require. With some ceiling, we're not going to get $10 million,
Yeah.
but in the neighborhoods of tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
Yep.
Brett, how does the timing of the proposals for a capital project, what's the timetable on that? I'm just wondering how that's going to interface with our capital outlay budget schedule?
Right. So for I'm not sure what the school schedule is. I know normal capital outlay procedures, you submit your projects by the, November timeframe,
Yeah.
And then they're awarded in early next year. So this award would probably happen after or around the same time as a capital outlay award may be given. However, because we're submitting that project in the January-February timeframe, not in the November timeframe, it would be most likely in addition to whatever capital aid requests you've already made. So I would not expect there to be, certainly at least in this initial round, for there to be overlap or concerns with, no, don't submit that for capital outlay because you've got this Green Communities funding coming.
think of them as two separate items. So I would look at this money as in addition to whatever you might receive outside of the capital outlay procedures or process. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Well,
We'll figure that out once we get closer and we're all working on deadlines.
I would say, I would ask you to maybe have a conversation with the Board of Selectmen about that, because, of what expectations are, because we never know one year to the next how much money is gonna be available for capital projects, and we have ongoing schedules. So it could be that maybe, you know, we have something on the capital schedule, but the Green Initiative covers it, okay, that gets removed from the schedule. Because we have things that have to be maintained no matter what,
Understood,
and so,
understood,
but
yeah.
I understand, you don't wanna double dip on budgets.
So think
but-
about when we are receiving funding from the Green Communities Program, we're identifying a specific project for that money.
Right, but that's what we
Yeah.
do with our capital budget too. We
Yep.
itemize out all the specific projects.
But maintenance is not in we're
No, I'm
committing
talking-
ourselves to a 20% energy reduction in
Right.
5 years. So maintenance isn't so much as it is trying to cut down on our energy uses. So I think it'll be a little bit different.
Well, but if we replace a,
No, you have a good point.
Windows,
You have a good point.
then-
Like, for example, you have a bunch of air handlers that we
Yeah.
have projected to have done in
Right.
2020. But we see the opportunity that the project would be perhaps a good project to apply for.
right,
Apply now. I mean, that is in the capital for, looking forward.
Yeah.
But we could apply that now. If we get the money, then we
Okay.
can
Yeah, so
advance that
bring it-
project.
yeah, that's a
perhaps.
good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then
Well,
we can,
something I think
discriminate.
we all need to figure out as we go along.
Yeah, and that'll be, the process is going to be, the contract is with the program and the town itself.
Right.
So that, the contracting body will be town administration.
Mhm.
So ultimately, they're gonna have to submit the project, but that would be done in tandem with the
Yeah.
schools. So I would see everything as supplemental and additional.
Mhm.
I hope that answers the question or the concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else I can answer while I'm up here?
Very good. Any other discussion?
Great, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. All right, item 6.5, to act on approval of administrators to serve on the HEA Unit A Sick Leave Bank Committee as recommended by the Superintendent and the Salary and Negotiations Subcommittee. Dr. Gallo, do you want to speak to this at all, or do you have any comments, Liza?
So, in your packet, of course, is the actual sick leave bank language from the contract, and if you look at 6.7 B, you'll note the added line from the last contract, which is that there would be a 6-person committee, 3 to be appointed by the Hingham Education Association, which is the teachers union, and 3 administrators to be appointed by the school committee. And I asked for volunteers among our administrative team and got probably a dozen of them. But we want a committee that has some balance in terms of levels and levels of expertise. So we're recommending that the committee include John Ferris. Prior to this, the decision-making on sick leave bank requests was done by John and me. So this proposal came forward to have a committee. In our last negotiation, it was a proposal from the union. So we think it's important that John needs to be part of that. He has the information about how one would have to connect Family Medical Leave Act requirements with the union language, and so we're recommending John Ferris, Mary Eastwood, and Katie Roberts, and all of them are volunteers. We don't have any immediate request on our agenda, but we could have, and we'll move forward that way with your vote tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Have a proposal?
Yeah, I have a proposal in salary negotiations, as just the subcommittee talked about this last week, and this is our recommendation. So the motion is to appoint John Ferris, Mary Eastwood, and Katie Roberts to serve as the 3 administrators for the HEA Unit A Sick Leave Bank Committee for the 2018-2019 school year, as recommended by the superintendent and the Salary and Negotiations Subcommittee.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion.
I was going to second it.
Oh.
Oh, please. I would-
That's okay.
Maybe.
Carl's did it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
Thank you.
you.
Jamie, I have.
I was trying hard to get that.
All right, item 6.6, to receive instructions in preparation for the annual superintendent evaluation scheduled for our next meeting on November 5th, 2018.
And we did
Do
tell
not
you
have
that
that.
we were going to give you a packet tonight, but I've just realized that with Pam's absence today,
We don't
we
have.
don't have the packet. So we
Oh.
will get it to you, the paper packet.
Oh.
It's in, everything that you need is in the drive, but we were going to give you a paper packet just because some of the reading is dense, number one, and number two, there's a form there that you need to fill out. So we will get that to you.
Was it anything that's not in what was in?
No.
It's
Okay.
different from this?
It's not. It's just
No.
you don't have it in hard copy, that's all. It's
Oh.
okay.
We were going to give
What
you
you have
hard
is-
copy tonight,
Okay.
but it's the same packet that you've got in there.
Okay, so everybody
All right.
has it on their, in their packet. It just, they were going to provide us a copy printed out, so we didn't have to use our own. But we will, do people want central office to, okay, so yes, if we can get copies, that would be great.
No, it's reasonable, you need that, and we will
Okay.
get it to you tomorrow.
All right. And then there is some other guidance from NASC on the evaluations that I will, I can forward to everyone, too. It's maybe a 60-page booklet of information, but much of it also has to do with evaluations in general of teachers, administrators, whatnot, but there is a section on the superintendent's evaluation. So it's, so just to give particularly the new members some clarification about how it works. So each of us individually will fill out an evaluation, and then each individual, I will receive them, and then I will aggregate them into one document that will serve as the evaluation for the entire committee. So I will take everyone's comments and ratings and aggregate them into one summative evaluation, and then we will discuss it at the November 5th meeting. So if people could get them to me by October 25th, 26th, give me 10-ish days. Dr. Gallo will provide us, or the central office will provide us with some feedback that you will have from your direct
Yes,
reports.
the people that I directly supervise, who are the directors and the principals, and a couple of individuals such as Joe Andrews, and they've been sent a survey. It's anonymous, and we should have that back within the next few days, and Pam will aggregate that into one survey that's reflective of that input and get that to you as well. It's a similar process that our administrators use with their direct supervisees.
Right. And so when you're doing your individual evaluation, so we're going to be evaluating against both the job description and the goals that Dr. Gallo had in place for this year. But remember that much of the stuff that the superintendent does is outside of this room, and some of it is confidential, and some of it is information we're not privy to. So in order to do an sort of evidence-based evaluation, you do have to take in the consideration the feedback that you will receive from other folks who work directly with Dr. Gallo as you're doing them. So remember to do that. Also, just important to note, each independent evaluation will become a public record. So although we will do one as a group that will be filed with Dr. Gallo and with the Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Ed, each one of your individual ones are also part of the public record. Does anybody have any questions on the process? I know Libby and Carrie, it's new, and having done it for myself the first time last year, the form is not particularly user-friendly, so definitely read the instructions first before you start your pencil. Don't pick up your pencil until you've read all the instructions, because it sort of says, just like the first page, and then it says, do page 3 first, so you sort of have to follow along. It can be a little bit complicated, but, and if you have questions while you're doing it, feel free to reach out. Any questions? Did I miss anything that you can think of? Okay, anything that you can think of? All right. Okay, so we will begin that process, and the evaluation will be presented at the November 5th meeting. All right, item 6.7, to hear an update on the superintendent search and the superintendent search screening committee, and act as appropriate. So Liza is going to summarize for us where we stand.
So, just as an update, we have, NESDEC has concluded the focus groups that were held, and the online survey is complete. There were 4 focus groups held for parents and community members, and invitation-only focus groups were held for staff, town hall staff, and special education parents and caregivers. 298 people responded to the online survey, which was a good turnout, which Hingham normally does. And that was open to everyone, including staff, parents, caregivers, community members, students. And NESDEC also did some one-on-one interviews with some key individuals, including the town administrator, the Board of Selectmen, the Chief of Police, and a few specific staff members. So all of this information has been summarized by NESDEC, and they've compiled it into a draft of a, quote, successful candidate profile. And the school committee has received a copy of this draft, and as a next step in this process, we are meeting on Thursday night it's a Salary and Negotiations Subcommittee meeting open to the full school committee meeting, so that NESDEC will join us to present this draft, and then we will discuss it and finalize what we want the profile to be. So please, everyone, take time to read it and think about what things you like, what things we want to ask NESDEC about the comments back from the focus groups, and if we want to evolve any of the profile. But there's a lot of work that was compiled, but we have full community input to help us use this profile to help evaluate all the applications of the individuals and guide us in our hiring decisions. In addition to that, the school committee met, and we have completed the process of forming a screening committee to assist in evaluating the applications. And the screening committee will also interview a select group of candidates so that they can recommend several finalists for this school committee to consider. So in this screening committee process, the school committee invited select groups to appoint representatives, school principals, department directors, teachers, PTOs, and CPAC, all appointed members. So we thank all those groups for meeting our requested deadlines and providing us with some really great people. And then last week on October 11th, the school committee met to select 2 at-large members for this group. And just as an update on that, the school committee received 24 applications from a wide range of talented and experienced citizens. It was a very difficult decision due to the quality of the candidates, and we thank everyone who took the time to apply and offer your services. As we've previously communicated, the school committee was committed to seeking at-large members who would balance the knowledge, expertise, and connections to the Hingham Public Schools that the 13 appointed members brought to the screening committee. So when we were reviewing applications, the first thing that we did was review the 13 members and identify several criteria that we were specifically seeking for the 2 at-large members. And those criteria, primarily, we looked at, we wanted somebody with knowledge and experience with technology, experience with special education program design and development, communications professional and talents, and experience working with schools other than Hingham. So we also agreed that we wanted applicants with younger children and who represented new voices who have not previously served on school or town committees. There are a couple other areas we identified, but those are the key areas we were focused on of selecting the 2 candidates. So we were pleased that we found 2 people who actually met this criteria. And the 2 at-large candidates both have preschool-age children and have not served on town committees. One is a technology entrepreneur who designs and develops software for the education field, and the other is a speech pathologist and reading specialist who has worked in another school district for more than 10 years. The screening committee, so I will read off, I'll make a motion on voting in to establish this screening committee, and I will name the names of the screening committee. So my motion is the Hingham School Committee establishes a subcommittee of 15 members to be the Superintendent Search Screening Committee with the responsibilities to include reviewing applications, interviewing chosen candidates from the applicant pool, and recommending several candidates to the school committee for further consideration. The members include Liza O'Reilly from the school committee as the chair of the screening committee, Carlos De Silva of the school committee as vice chair of the screening committee, John Ferris, director of business and services, as the central office administrator, Derek Smith, the Hingham Middle School principal, Tony Keaty, the East School principal, Katie Roberts, the science department director, Margaret Curran, Hingham Middle School teacher, Monica Matthews, foster school teacher, Charles Cristello, public official appointed by the town administrator, Linda Kutch, who's our public official appointed by the advisory committee, Susanna Cullen, I'm never going to get her right. I will eventually. Cullen, who is a PTO member, Christine Smith, named by the PTO, Mary Beth Barber, who CPAC has selected, Christina Doble, who's an at-large member, and Richard Dwyer, who's another at-large member. We also selected alternates for the Christina Doble's at-large position, Catherine Collins and Sylvia Fabrizio, and an alternate at-large member for Richard Dwyer would be David Olson and Kathleen Doyle. So,
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carrie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
So thank you to everyone for serving, and we will follow up with everyone shortly. Our first meeting of the screening committee is November 1st. And for the school committee, I also included in your packet, Michelle and I worked on a draft press release for announcing the members. So anybody have anything on that you
Looks
want to
good.
add or change or?
That's good.
Okay, so we'll work on getting that out tomorrow so that, and community outreach, you have your system of getting things out. But that is done,
Okay.
and that's all I had.
Thank you. Just one thing I want to clarify, just the 2 alternates that we chose, they are alternates for the purpose of, if for any reason the 2 at-large members cannot be seated on November 1st, once the committee is seated, that is the committee, and if for some reason someone can't attend, the alternates do not jump into their place. And I wanted to echo Liza and the full school committees. Thank you to everyone who has been so engaged in this process so far, whether you applied for one of these positions, through the school committee, the PTOs, however you applied, through participating in focus groups, for taking the online survey, and rest assured there is many more opportunities. There will be many more opportunities for people to continue to be engaged in the process. It will move relatively quickly, but we hope people will stay engaged in the process, and thank you for your engagement so far. All right, item 6.8, to receive notification of the Hingham High School overnight band and orchestra field trip to New York City on March 14th through March 17th. Any questions? Comments? No? Okay. And we're just being notified, correct? We don't have to, we're not approving or anything? Okay.
No, but if you have questions
Yeah,
or
no,
comments.
everybody's good with that. All right, thank you. And then 6.9, to receive notification of the Hingham High School overnight French class field trip to Montreal, March 21st through 23rd, 2019. Any questions, comments? No?
Is this an annual trip or is it a occasional?
The,
Montreal.
The Montreal, it's a fairly new trip, but they have gone before.
Oh, okay.
But it isn't a long-standing one like the Quebec
Yeah.
one is. I would like to update you on the trip that we talked about at length at the last meeting, which was a World War II trip. And you remember the conversation was mainly about it's a very costly trip and the kinds of challenges that presents. That on the one hand, you know, it's wonderful that we have children and families that can participate. On the other hand, not a lot can participate in that kind of a trip. So since that meeting, Jamie and I did meet with Chrissy O'Connor, who was the person sponsoring the trip, to find out more about it. I didn't realize that you hadn't received the backup for the trip. We got that to you, I think. That's mainly so that you could see that while it is a very expensive trip, when you see all that is there, it's obviously a good value trip, but still an expensive one. So Chrissy had heard about the concerns that had been expressed, and so she's looking for direction. So she is doing this because she thinks it's a wonderful trip, not because it's a class trip for any particular grade level, or and she understands that there may not be sufficient interest. I did stress that if there were not the number of students that she needs to make the trip be able to happen at the current cost, that there would be no question that we couldn't have the trip go forward if the costs were going to be greater because fewer people applied. So she's very comfortable with, let's see where it goes. And she is not, she's certainly putting out information that there is such a trip. She's not actively recruiting or necessarily encouraging people that pleading with anyone to go or anything of that sort. And so we'll see where it goes and see whether or not there's interest. And she was comfortable with that approach. So that's where that one stands.
Okay. Thank you for that. I mean, I think we all agreed that it's definitely a worthwhile trip.
yeah.
It was, and I think it kind of sort of sparked a good conversation for the community about how we might move forward in helping build some equity there with travel opportunities, whether that's through something that the PTOs help with or community groups, fundraising, whatever we decide. So I think it was good conversation. All right, thank you. Item 6.10, to receive notification of several appointments. Alyssa DeLuca, long-term substitute teacher at South School. Barbara Cullen, food service technician at Hingham High School. James Ferreira, bus driver. And Thomas Downey, paraeducator at Hingham High School. So welcome and congratulations. Item 6.11, to receive the notification of the resignation of paraeducators Nancy Brandi at PRS and Amy Conboy at Foster. Thank you both for your service to the Hingham Public School students. Item 7, any 48 hours items?
Yeah,
Carlos?
I found out last week that besides Mary Ford retirement from the Hingham Journal, that Carol May also retired. So I just want to publicly express our gratitude to both of them for everything they have done in helping cover, our events.
I'm sorry,
Carol Meyer.
Carol Meyer, thank you.
For everything they have done in supporting our education in the schools. And wish them a great retirement.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And for their support as journalists in our Free Press Society. Thank you both, and thank you, Carlos, for reminding us of that. Subcommittee and project reports. I'm going to start at the end of the table. I know Kay's not here tonight, but I believe Carrie is going to provide a community outreach update. Okay.
Yep, we met last Friday, the 12th, to follow up on a few things. One thing, we looked at the superintendent search page, and there's a lot of information on there now, and we're expecting there to be more of it. So we just tried to organize it. So we all talked about how we can do that and kind of put all the press releases together and label them what they are, so people can quickly find them. And it's not just a long list of things. So Kay was going to follow up with Joe and his team, and they're going to hopefully fix that for us. And second, so Joe Andrews has been using a thing called Site Improve, which it's something that will go on the website and follow links and find broken links. And then I guess there's also a way that you can use it to repair the links once you find them. So he's been doing that. He's been doing some development with that. Dr. Gallo said she's going to be doing a webinar on the 31st at 10:30 to find and to learn the next step, how to repair the links. So that would be a good first step. So when we talk about what we want to do with the website, at least we can kind of clean up those things, because that happens on every website. We talked about a website refresh. At our last meeting, we had asked Dr. Laboa to go and talk to Sterling or Stacker, the company that had done the study for us, about and some other companies about doing a refresh of the website. So not doing a whole new website, but kind of updating it and reorganizing it. And what came back is the companies don't do that, because even refreshing it would require reorganizing it. And Jamie, jump in so Stacker came back with a cost of $39,500 to do a refresh or reboot of the website, which we all thought was very high. So what we asked Jamie to do was to go and ask other companies for bids for what would it cost to just redo the website, and also to go back to Stacker. They've included some other things in their quote other than just the website, and see what, if we stripped all those things away and just said, just build us a new website, what would that cost?
Right.
So, did I get it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the only piece that just to connect is we had worked with them for discovery, and so the additional components that they included in their proposal had come out of our feedback of the discovery process that we did with them last spring. So that's where I just don't want you to think they sort of were picking things off the tree and putting them onto our proposal. It really was the feedback that our community gave, and they wanted to make sure that there was a piece around social media management, for example, was a component. So we're going to have everybody sort of them scale back and just talk about what it costs to build a new site, and then get some other quotes to then have a holistic comparison against who's the most cost efficient.
Okay, great. And then the last thing that came up, Libby was going to talk about, had to do with the Facebook posting from the school department website.
Right, so we had a debate about what's the best way to use social media to communicate with our constituents, and there's so many different Facebook pages and so many of us, when, what, where, and by whom all came up. And we have 2 potential ideas that we need to run by you guys to see how you feel, to help to present a united front, so that whatever we put out there is from the school committee and not just one individual or a subset of us or anything like that. So the one idea was that anything that gets shared to social media is shared by the chair. Or we could create a Facebook page for the school committee and share things from it, so that anything that's shared comes directly from the school committee. And then we could share it to all of the other Facebook groups and have kind of a scattershot approach, so that we can try to make sure we get everybody. But it's coming from the school committee.
Right. Since I rarely log into Facebook, I like what's behind door number 2. But I think,
Good move.
thank you. And I sort of, I mean, that's, and I like that. I mean, it's, you know, the decisions that we're making and the correspondence we're putting out there are group decisions and committee decisions. So I think it makes sense for a Hingham School Committee Facebook page, if that's possible to do. Like that's possible to set
There
that
are
up.
other school committees that do it. It's
Oh,
basically
okay.
a person, and it would be first name Hingham, last name school committee. And so,
Okay.
and then that person would have to join all these boards, but
Okay.
it's, you know, it would come from there. And it would just be sharing things from the Hingham Public Schools Facebook page to all these different boards.
Okay.
So-
And then how would we administer it? Is that, would everyone have access to it? Could anybody post? Would we limit that?
We could do that. What we discussed is making you an administrator as the chair.
Okay.
And then somebody from community outreach,
Okay.
and then doing it that way. So,
That makes-
but we could make everyone an administrator too. I don't think there's any limit.
I'd probably just,
Limit it?
well, just from a practical issue of not everybody's gonna load stuff on, and anything we put on is a group decision to like what we're doing now with the group announcements. So, and you have to have 2 people that are willing to
do it.
do the work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So how would we feel if, say we posted this release today that we decided on, and if each of us liked the page and then we share it with our individual groups, people okay with that? Because we're sharing the common message as opposed to just to be able to get it distributed wider.
Right.
As opposed to, you know, writing individual statements. Or do we only want the school committee Facebook page to stand alone and be the only communication?
So we talked about having the individuals being able to share to our own individual page, but not to other groups. Because
Okay, yep.
some of us are
Yep.
more active than others, and it would be,
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know,
Yep.
weird or whatever. So
I
just
agree with
having
that.
it come from the
Yep.
one school committee Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing you will not have as many people pretty quickly. So if the purpose of posted is to target the audience out there, you know, you're not going to reach many people. So I would not have a problem with anyone sharing whatever was posted by the school committee, because when you do share, it's going to show that the owner is the school committee.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, the only thing was that we have to be very careful is that individuals may be asking you questions on the post that you share.
Right.
So I think at that point, as an individual, you should actually not answer. I think the community outreach, or perhaps the chair, should be the ones in charge of answering those questions.
Definitely. I think anything that is shared should definitely be, Michelle and Liza are the
Oh,
spokespeople,
the
so
sc- yeah,
it
the
would
school,
go refer to them.
but the community outreach
A way to
would be fine.
disable comments.
There is a way of disable comment, which I usually do that when I share something that I'm not the owner of it. So that way, I'm just passing on information.
Right.
Because we wanted to make sure that many people are getting, you know, seeing all this, so.
Yeah, I think it's really important to get it out there, because a lot of people get
I
their
agree.
information through there, so.
Right.
But, yeah.
No, I would agree. I mean, it is important to disseminate the information the best we can.
Mhm.
And I think we will get a lot of friends on our Hingham Public School, or our Hingham School Committee page.
The only thing I would mention is that when you get it all set up, let us know, because we'll have to, I think it's Page Freezer we use. We have to archive and and digitally archive all of your social media as a public record. And so we are involved with our Twitter and the district's Facebook page through Page Freezer, which is an organization that we found through Joe Andrews and John's office. And so they take periodic screenshots and then digitally archive and save as a matter of public record all of our social media presence. And so we do that for all of our district accounts. And so if you create a Facebook page, just let us know, because we'll have to loop you in. You can't. We want to make sure that we archive and digitize your records.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is not problematic for, or
We'll check with John. I
costly,
mean, it may just bump up. We paid like X amount for so many accounts,
Okay.
and I think but it's not a problem. We'll make it work. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I would just say that, when we do come up with, which I'm advocating, a social media policy, that the school committee page follows the school committee policy of the Hingham Public Schools.
Yep.
Is the intent here to have a dialogue with, I was at the meeting, but I didn't ask that then. So.
No, it's just to get the information out.
So it's just pushing the
'cause-
information out and out.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Okay. All right, great, thank you. Thank you for that work. Long-range planning?
So, thank you all for voting in favor of the green initiatives. And thank Dr. Ed for the hard work on that. It is truly a team effort. Libby has submitted the application to the CPC for the playground at the Plymouth River. As a matter of fact, there is a walkthrough this Saturday, the 20th, happening. Both Libby and I will be out of state, and John will be out of the state, or perhaps out of the area. So Dr. Ferreira agreed to cover for us with Kate. So thank you, and they'll go and show the CPC leaders, the playground and the idea of where we'll be building that playground. Hopefully we'll get the money from the CPC. So if you guys have any friends there, make a call for us. And that's pretty much
We
it.
have to
So
present
thank you.
in November.
Say again?
We have to present in November.
Go ahead.
So I think it's November 14th and 15th. We have to go before the Community Preservation Committee and present our project to them and why we think that it's important that they support our project.
Excellent.
Great.
Do we have a next meeting scheduled for long range? Because it strikes me that we're into October now, and we have to have some sort of a decision about whether we're going to do a walk around or a walk to one or two places and what the date would be and so on. So
So right after tonight, we'll pick a date for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else to do
Well,
with
just
the warrants?
the report on the warrants, this is new to me. What I'm doing is going in on Fridays, and Aisha will give me, in this instance, there have been two warrants meaning these lists of expenses. And what I've learned is, A, I will print, and B, I will do it in pen, and see what I, other the comments, other than the usual things that are repetition, time after time after time, I'll highlight something that's just different that I hadn't seen before. Very interesting, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
so you'll have a better.
You're the right man for the job, Ed.
They can vary significantly
Very
depending on the warrant.
significant. It's an eye-opener.
Okay.
So
so
Thank you
that's
for doing that.
one. There's a second one, I think.
Takes a few minutes, but
Yes.
I'll keep it.
Yes, no, thank you, appreciate it. Anything else for salary negotiations?
We're meeting on Thursday at 7:30 instead of 7 because Kay
It's a conflict.
has a conflict, so instead of her coming late, I just moved it back
So
to 7.
Thursday is 7:30.
7:30.
So do we have to repost that in the morning for the
I
new
have,
time?
I have an agenda for, I'll send it to Pam or Catherine in the morning.
Okay.
All right. Kay's not here for policy update, although we haven't met since our prior meeting, but we do have a meeting November 2nd, 9 a.m., November 2nd for policy.
Looking at me, aren't you?
I am. And.
Yes, yes.
Okay, oh, you have that, all right. And we'll have a number of items to talk about, including social media policy. We may want to put some age enrollment guidance on that agenda. There were a few things that we were going to have on that agenda.
Michelle,
Yes.
Just realized that I recognized Mary Ellen back there, and I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to make a mistake. But Mary Ellen Dever is here covered for the Hingham Journal, so
Oh.
welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. All right, so that's policy. Special Ed Subcommittee, we did not have a meeting in October, but Carrie and I both attended the CPAC Rights and Responsibilities event. It was very informative. I was a little late on attendance, but it was very informative. And Dr. Vinnis was there as well, and she did a great job answering some questions from parents in the room. So it was a good meeting. We will have a special ed subcommittee. I'm going to schedule one for November 14th. And there's a CPAC meeting that night, so we will do one at 6 o'clock. I think 6 p.m. we'll meet, and then they meet at 7 o'clock. And we can talk about it. If you guys have anything in particular you want on that agenda, let me know. And that's about it. Anything else? Committees, liaisons? Okay. Then item number 9, I will make a motion to move to executive session, not to return to open session, for the purpose of discussing strategies with respect to matters related to district security protocols and practices, the public discussion of which may be detrimental to the district's safety plan.
Second.
Thank you. And we need a roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. I do not write it down because we are not adjourned.
That was really fun.
I'm not going to bang the gavel because we're still, let me go tell.
Michelle, do you want to meet in my office or
I
here?
know.
No, I don't mind.
If we adjourn,
I didn't want to make
She went to tell him.
fashion.
Oh, yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.